than we ever been. No, we won't stop at the ceiling, so let's keep waking up dreaming.
Stories about being predated on by driving instructors. Steph says, my driving instructor was very odd. I remember once driving past a school and he looked at the pupils and said, "Whoa!" Gosh. Rachel in Cheshire says, I had the same thing happen to me. An instructor was recommended by my then boyfriend. I was 17 at the time. He drove me a secluded place to practice a three-point turn, but then asked me to perform a sexual act on him. I wish I'd done something about it. Luckily, I passed. BBC Radio 2, smart speaker sounds app and 88 to 91 FM.
BBC News at 1 o'clock. This is Anthony Birchley. Conservative MPs hoping to replace Liz Truss are racing to find backers. A Labour MP has quit after allegations of sexual misconduct. And Ireland's cricketers have beaten the two-time champions West Indies at the T20 World Cup. Conservative MPs are beginning to throw their support behind potential candidates to become the next Prime Minister. Liz Truss's resignation yesterday triggered a Conservative leadership contest, giving contenders until Monday afternoon to find 100 MPs to back them. Nobody has so far announced that they'll be running, but the former Chancellor Rishi Sunak and the Commons leader Penny Mordaunt are expected to stand for a second time. The Tory backbencher Maria Miller is backing Ms Mordaunt.
As a Royal Navy reservist, she knows the importance of putting our country first. And I believe that she'll be able to do a good job. What I think makes her a standout candidate is that she can now bring everybody together, because she is very much a centrist person, and I think she can unite people who have differing views.
There's also speculation that Boris Johnson could attempt a comeback as Conservative MPs and members search for a candidate who can unite the party. Tory backbencher Scott Benton believes the former Prime Minister can do that.
He's a rock-star politician. He clearly ignites strong feelings among various sections of the public, but I can honestly say that all of the way through the summer since Boris left office, I've been knocking on doors, visiting businesses and people in my constituents, and they have one simple message: bring back Boris.
Opposition parties have been calling for an immediate general election. The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, said the fact that Conservatives were considering re-electing Boris Johnson proved that a vote was necessary.
I remind myself that only 3 months ago, Boris Johnson left office because most of those who were serving him on his front bench had declared that he was unfit for office. So to go from the kamikaze budget under Liz Truss back to a man that his own party has declared is unfit for office is the most powerful argument you could possibly have for a general election.
The Labour MP, Christian Matheson, has resigned after the parliamentary watchdog accused him of serious sexual misconduct. Mr Matheson was facing a 4-week suspension and had been asked to stand down by Labour. Here's our political correspondent, Damien Grammaticus.
Following a complaint by a member of Christian Matheson's staff, Parliament's Commissioner for Standards found the MP for Chester had made unwanted sexual advances towards the woman. It said he had invited the junior employee on a trip abroad, pressured her, invited her to his flat and attempted to kiss her. The recommended sanction was a 4-week suspension from the House of Commons. In his resignation letter, Mr Matheson said he was dismayed. He claimed several allegations were untrue and said he had no sexual motivation and the sanction was disproportionate.
Official figures show that retail sales fell by 1.4% last month, more than was expected. This means people are shopping less than before the pandemic. The Office for National Statistics said the drop was partly due to store closures after Queen Elizabeth's death, but also because of continued price pressures. Cases of flu have climbed quickly in the past week in England, prompting the UK Health Security Agency to suggest the season has started earlier than normal. Experts suggest people may have little immunity to flu after a break from it during COVID restrictions. Here's our health correspondent, Dominic Hughes.
The latest data suggests hospital and intensive care admissions for flu are rising, especially in children under 5, though overall flu levels are still relatively low. There are concerns over a twindemic this winter, a bad flu season coinciding with another wave of COVID. New figures on COVID infections in the UK suggest cases in the community and in hospitals appear to be stable or decreasing. Health experts say that could be the result of a good uptake of the autumn booster jab, and they're urging anyone who is eligible to get that as well as a flu jab.
Cricket and Ireland are through to the Super 12 stage of the T20 World Cup after beating West Indies by 9 wickets. Our sports correspondent Andy Swiss reports from Hobart in Australia.
For Ireland's travelling fans, it was a day to remember. The West Indies are 2-time winners of the tournament, but could only make 146 in their innings, a target Ireland chased down with ease, thanks to an unbeaten 66 from Paul Stirling. It means Ireland go through to the main 12-team stage, while the West Indies go out after a disappointing campaign in which they were also beaten by Scotland. Scotland, though, ultimately also failed to qualify. Needing to beat Zimbabwe in their final match, a poor batting display saw their World Cup hopes end in defeat.
And the weather, variable cloud and showers will continue across most of the UK, a risk of thunder in some areas as well. Top temperatures this afternoon, 18 Celsius in London, 16 in Cardiff, 14 Celsius in Edinburgh and Belfast. That's the BBC News at 1:05.
And that's Anthony Birchley, thank you.
Jeremy Vine. Listen live on the BBC Sounds app. BBC Radio 2.
In this hour, Boris Johnson flying back from the Dominican Republic and the coming of autumn.